bottom. Ain't no problems, we gon' make a way. Got no coach on the field, but we making plays. Hey, look, don't worry, we gon' be okay. Hey, look, why? Cause we gon' make them pay.
All right, man. Well, let's go ahead and get into these games. And we're talking about the conference championship games. We talking about the conference champion. Well, there go my plays.
How are you?
Man, we're talking about the Bengals and the Chiefs going head to head in Arrowhead Stadium, 3:00 Eastern time, 2:00. Or if you're in the greatest nation, for the AFC Championship, the Bengals are 12-7 and 12-7 against the spread and straight up, while the Kansas City Chiefs are 14-5 on the year, 10-9 against the spread. And a lot of those nines in that against the spread cost me money because a lot of those came when they started off the year terribly. But ever since then, they've been playing good, especially on the defensive side of the ball, but they kind of look shaky in these playoffs. So this line still open up in favor of the Chiefs by 7. It's still locked in at 7, and the total opened up at 53.5. Right now, it's at 54.5. Check out these injury reports real quick. So Daniels, defensive tackle, is dealing with a groin injury for the Bengals. Anything significant? Tupo, defensive tackle, he is questionable for this game. Wide receiver Morgan is questionable as well. And Sample at the defensive end position is questionable with a groin injury. The Kansas City Chiefs, Tyrann Mathieu, he is questionable for this week with a concussion injury. Running back Williams is questionable as well with a toe. Saunders, the defensive tackle, is probable for this game. Fenton, the cornerback, is questionable with dealing with a back injury. So as we all know, the Bengals beat the number 1 seed Tennessee Titans 19-16 last week, and before then they beat the Raiders in the wild card 26-19. While the Kansas City Chiefs, they beat Pittsburgh 42-21, and then backdoored and beat the Buffalo Bills in an amazing, entertaining game 42-36. Why don't you squib kick the ball if you're the Bills with 13 seconds left?
I knew they were going to squib kick and take some time off.
Jeez Louise. Cincinnati Bengals 6-0 against the spread in the last 6 games. The unders hit 5 out of the last 7 times. They're 5-1 straight up in the last 6 games. 4-2 against the spread in the last 6 games against Kansas City. 7-1 against the spread in the last 8 games on the road. And the unders also hit 6 out of the last 7 games whenever the Bengals do travel on the road to Kansas City. 5-0 against the spread in the last 5 games, and 5-1 straight up in the last 6 games against an AFC conference opponent. And they're also 4-1 straight up in the last 5 games against an AFC West division opponent as well. Kansas City Chiefs 8-2 against the spread in the last 10 games. The overs hit 7 out of the last 7 games, 11-1 straight up in the last 12 games. The unders also hit 9 out of the last 12 against Cincinnati. They're 6-0 against the spread in the last 6 games at the crib. The overs hit 5 out of the last 5 games for KC. 8-1 straight up in the last 9 games against an AFC conference opponent. 10-2 straight up in the last 12 games against an opponent from the North Division, and 7-1 against the spread in the last 8 games played on a Sunday. So, with that being said, AFC Championship, Marley. No. Let me go to Hova because the Bengals is the only team that this boy Hova has been talking about on the low-key radar besides the Texans. So I'm going to let you take this. Marley, what's the play? I mean, Hova, what's the play?
So before I get out my play, you brought up a good point when you asked why they didn't squib kick it. So I was listening to the radio. Special teams coach, the Giants, Thomas McGahee, brought up some valid points, and what he was saying was like, even if you, number one, they to start off with, they only had 13 seconds, right, to drive the field.
Yeah, 13
all right.
seconds.
Okay. Which you would think one of the top defenses would be able to hold for 13 seconds. But anyway, so he basically what he was saying, if you squib kick it, you might run some time off, but also at the same time, it is a threat of a big return. especially if the squib kick doesn't go accordingly and the coverage is not there. Also, depending on who you had returning the ball. So he talked about that for like about 30 minutes. So I kind of found that very, very interesting. So
how many returns, or even close to the 50, have you seen in the history of NFL and college football off of a squib kick?
You probably don't see as much as you see on a conventional kickoff. So I mean, right there, I understand that, but again, that doesn't mean that it's not possible. So they kicked it. Where did they get the ball at?
But what I'm saying is that percentage is very, very slim at
I
that
think
particular
I think I
moment.
squib
my
because you
question
gotta take
is,
some time off that clock.
Where did they get the ball at?
If they squib
Because
No, just the conventional kickoff. Where did they end up getting the ball at?
25.
Okay. So they got it. They got it at the 25 with 13 seconds. What are the percentages from driving from the 25 to get in the field goal range with 13 seconds against, I think, the number 1 ranked pass defense?
I have no idea. I'm sure it's.
But we talking about Mahomes, the Chiefs with 2 timeouts.
We still.
I mean, I thought it was over. I'm not gonna
look.
And then on top of that, the coverage, bro, the coverages they ran against that.
That's probably more of a problem than the
okay, but also you got to look at who's back there returning.
Did you have the Bills? Did you have the Bills, coach?
You could have Hardman. You
I had Chiefs.
You can have
My
Hardman.
only loss was the Titans.
You can have Tyreek Hill back there. So you squib it and one of them get the peel, they can break too. So it's kind of a tough situation.
I'm squibbing.
I rather have used time for my
if they break for a touchdown, then
but that's what I'm saying.
What are we talking about right now?
But what I'm saying is,
I'll take my chances.
What are the chances of that happening, bro?
We've
never seen it. Never.
And I'm saying, what are the chances if you got the number 1 pass defense and you let a team drive from there on 25?
I don't know. He's been scoring on their ass all night. So.
From a 25 with 13 seconds left, when you don't actually have to press up,
they haven't stopped them niggas all night.
13 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the game was over. I'll say that again. I thought the game was over.
So, but anyway, whatever. So, I've been talking about the Bengals the last several years. I definitely like the coach. I like what they've been doing, management as far as drafting and bringing in guys. I thought they played really, really well on the road. It seems like the moment wasn't too big for him. So now it's a whole different ball game because now you're playing against a team who's won a Super Bowl, who's at home and probably no, I'm not going to even say probably. The Arrowhead Stadium is the toughest place to play in the NFL. And this has been going back in the gap when they had like Steve DeBerg at quarterback and shit like that. So I think it's gonna be a little bit too much for the baby Bengals. I'm one of the things I'm concerned about is that I want to see them be able to run the ball. On the road in a big game like this, it's going to be hard to throw for 350 and 400 yards and really not turn the ball over. Also, are you going to be prepared to go into a dogfight as far as back and forth, a high-scoring game? I don't think the Bengals are going to really be able to stop the Chiefs. If the Bills couldn't do it, I don't think the Bengals are going to be able to do it. But I will say this. I think 7 is too much. 7 is too much. So I'm going to take the Bengals plus the points. Hopefully, worst case scenario, get a push or anything, backdoor maybe get a push or whatever. But it's gonna be a great matchup. What I saw with the Chiefs and what they did to the Bills defense, they always do this. They come around at the right time, and that's what they do, especially their defense. I always write their defense off, then they start coming around at the right time. I think that
Right.
trend continues. I think the Bengals are too young. I like them. I think they fall short. I'm going to take the Bengals to cover +7, but ultimately I think the Chiefs get the job done.
Marley bets. What's the play?
Wow. I'm not gonna
He
be
swerved us.
long-winded, huh?
Yeah, I said Mike Hova swerved us.
I'm not gonna be super long-winded. You know what I'm saying? We saw the games last weekend. We saw what the Chiefs are capable of. And we saw what that defense. That defense is fucking trash. It's fucking trash. I don't want to hear no shit about they coming along at the right time. Them niggas ain't stopped the Bills not one time, man. They won because they got the ball first in the overtime. Them niggas was giving up touchdown after touchdown. Like, fuck that. That shit trash. I'm on the over 54.5. And I think it's another shootout. I think we get similar to what we just saw last week. Maybe not quite overtime thriller. I think the Bills, on paper and throughout the season, the Bills defense was a little bit better than the Bengals. And the Bengals did beat them the last play, although that was at home with playoff seeding on the line. So it was a lot of different situations. It's different to go on the road and play against that offense versus going on the road and playing against the Titans offense, where it really wasn't a threat. They was in the game the whole time. It was nothing the Titans offensively was doing that was really threatening them from Tannehill perspective. They got to go out and score 30 this week. So with all that being said, like I said, I don't want to be too long-winded. Put me on the over officially, and I'm also on the Bengals +7. I just think it's too many points to spot with that sorry-ass defense. So I think we'll get another tight game, maybe a field goal win. Maybe, the Chiefs get a last-second stop or a last-minute stop. Maybe that defense come through. Maybe Matthew gets he still turns the ball over. He still is good at forcing turnovers. So maybe you get something like that. But I think you get another 30, 34, 37, 28, 34 type ball game. I think we get over that total. I got the Bengals +7 over 54.5. You muted, sir.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys, man. I'm to back in the Bengals +7. This Chiefs defense, they couldn't stop a nosebleed last week, but there's a nice statistic that they have been playing great and have been one of the top defenses up until not the loss that they lost to the Bengals with, but it was right before that, the L before that. I'm gonna be rooting for these Bengals to beat these boys. Like that'll be crazy. See Joe Burrow in the championship with Jamar Chase when everybody was just like talking down on him early because he was talking about some drops, during practice, 2-a-days. You know what I'm saying? So, but I do definitely like the Bengals plus the points. Too many points right here. My only concern is like Bengals got to come with it, man. They got to stop allowing these sacks, 9 sacks. Like,
Well, Tennessee defense, that's one of the better defensive lines in the league.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're lucky the Chiefs' defensive line isn't anywhere compared to the Titans, but they got to do something. They can't allow that to go on if they're trying to win. But we just need them to cover with the touchdown. So go ahead and book it.
Tyreek Hill is a monster.
Yeah. Seen him live. I seen him live when Florida State played Oklahoma State, and I seen his speed at an early age live, and I was like, yo. He pretty much ran like a 200-meter on a kickoff return or a punt return. I was like, and this is Florida State fresh off the natty. You know what I'm saying? Victory again. I'm talking about Jameis Winston and all that. So, anywho, those are our plays. Hey, we appreciate everybody tuning in. I am the coach. This is Marley Bets and Mikey Hova.
Check it out. Look, we from the bottom, ain't no problems, we gon' make a way. Got no coach on the field, but we making plays. Hey, look, don't worry, we gon' be okay. Hey, look, why? Cause we gon' make them pay.